Fascinating facts about Adolf Hitler that reveal his twisted ambitions and shocking plans. Get ready to uncover truths you won't believe could have happened if the Nazis had won. In this video, we explore 6 surprising truths about one of history's most notorious figures. Blondie was a German shepherd dog, brought as a gift for Hitler in 1941 by a German officer. She quickly became extremely dear to him and served as his constant companion, giving him a sense of security. However, by April 1945, as the war situation worsened and Hitler's defeat seemed inevitable, he grew increasingly worried about Blondie's safety. He feared that she might fall into enemy hands and suffer mistreatment. Thus, he instructed one of his subordinates, Dr. WWII, to test a cyanide capsule on Blondie to ensure the capsules would work quickly and effectively. After confirming this, Hitler became convinced that the capsule would act swiftly. Ultimately, just before his own death, he ordered his associates to end Blondie's life to prevent her from suffering a cruel fate. Her death became a tragic symbol of his collapse, illustrating that even in his final hours, Hitler tried to protect his beloved dog, despite the chaos and destruction he had caused for millions. One of Hitler's greatest regrets was his decision not to convince the Japanese to enact Hokushin-ron. Essentially, it involved the Japanese attacking the Soviet Union rather than focusing on the Pacific and Southeast Asia. At the end of the war, Hitler concluded that it is certainly regrettable that the Japanese did not enter the war against Soviet Russia alongside us. If that had happened, Stalin's armies would not now be besieging Breslau, and the Soviets would not be standing in Budapest. We would together have exterminated Bolshevism before the winter of 1941. What were Hitler's crazy plans for Berlin if they had won World War II? Despite his rejection from art school, his architectural vision reflected his cold and unfeeling persona. Hitler never lost his affinity for grand building, taking inspiration from monumental structures like the Congress Hall and the Zeppelinfeld, where the Cathedral of Light was used for Nazi mega-rally. These were just some of the completed constructions of the Third Reich. However, there is no better example of Hitler's undying passion than his plans for Germania, the projected renewal of Berlin if the war concluded in Axis victory. Albert Speer, appointed as the first architect of the Reich, directed the vision for a 1,000-year Reich. Hitler declared that as the world capital, Berlin would be comparable only to ancient Egypt, Babylon, and Rome, though realized only in models, colossal buildings like the Hall of Glory. A planned, gigantic domed palace for the Führer typified Nazi ambitions to make fascism visually larger than life. Hitler's plans were horrific if he had emerged victorious in World War II. The Nazis aimed to eliminate those they deemed undesirable, such as Jews, Romani people, and slaves, to create living space for Germans. It is believed that Hitler wanted to maintain the British Empire as a maritime ally, although other accounts suggest he aimed to enslave or wipe out 80% of the populations of France and England. The Nazis encouraged Aryan women to have many children, with Himmler envisioning a German population of over 300 million by 2000. Africa was to be divided into 3 parts: Fascist Italy in the north, Germany in the center, and a puppet government in South Africa. Japan and Germany planned to split Asia between them. While Hitler spoke little about invading the continental USA, he rejoiced at the idea of an Axis-aligned England marching with Germany against America. During the Normandy Invasion, Hitler was asleep, and his top German leaders had to wait for his orders to send troops to counter the attack. When he woke up, he was still reluctant to take action because he believed the main assault would occur elsewhere, led by General Patton. He perceived the Normandy attack as a distraction and was initially pleased when it began, thinking the Allies would fail. He hoped this would weaken Britain and America, allowing him to focus on fighting Stalin in the East. However, when he realized that the Allies were not being stopped and that his orders had not been followed, he became extremely angry and blamed his top commanders for their failure. Did you know that Hitler wore his strange mustache for a reason? At the beginning of World War I, he had a large mustache. However, during the war, the Germans introduced a new weapon called mustard gas. To protect themselves, soldiers had to wear gas masks. Hitler, who was fighting in the trenches, found that his large mustache interfered with the seal of the mask, so he trimmed his mustache down to a small style, allowing it to fit better under the mask.